Welcome back to the David Pakman Show.
Welcome back to the show. Make sure to visit us on the web at davidpakman.com. A lot happening in here today, Lewis. Big show. And I want to remind our audience, make sure you're also getting the bonus show because the show does not end after the first hour. There is plenty more. Today we'll be talking about some of the behind the scenes with the interviews we've been airing today. There's a lot to discuss. Also a story about Roger Ailes pushing a publisher to lie about an affair because it would be convenient for the News Corporation publishing department, publishing arm, and also the remains of an 11,000-year-old child have been found, and plenty more. davidpakman.com/membership. And let's talk about, Lewis, there's two stories I want to mention here. One is that we heard now that the Department of Justice will no longer be defending the Defense of Marriage Act. Now, I've been getting some emails from people who are much more involved in the Defense of Marriage Act minutia, so to speak, and many are saying, you know what, it's a nice sign from Barack Obama, but in the immediate future, in reality, it is not going to fundamentally change anything for gay and lesbian couples. What's interesting, Lewis, is this, that how do we even bring this up? It's just so obvious. Since the Republicans took power in the House of Representatives, we've been talking about the completely upside down priorities of the John Boehner run House of Representatives. And this includes what? Redefining rape, changing rape victim to rape accuser, 10 times, more than 10 times, proposing repeals of the Obama health care bill, which, by the way, would never pass in the Senate, and Barack Obama has vowed to veto in either case. We have seen time and time again that after so much discussion about jobs and being critical of unemployment, there has been almost nothing done on that front. However, all of a sudden, now that Barack Obama says Defense of Marriage Act, the Department of Justice will not defend it, well, now John Boehner is saying, you know what? We need to be focusing on jobs. Now is the time to focus on jobs. Defense of Marriage Act? What are you guys talking about? So this is completely disingenuous, Lewis. I don't even know how this is passing without more scrutiny. For the last 6 weeks, or rather, I guess more like 4 or 5 weeks, since Republicans were sworn in as the majority in the House of Representatives, we have seen nothing but completely backward priorities in the House of Representatives. And now, Defense of Marriage Act, whoa, we need to be focusing on jobs.
No surprise.
You're not surprised at all by it. Are you surprised that it's not getting more scrutiny, more actual reporting and criticism and critique in the national media, though?
No, because the national media, for the most part, does not analyze things as closely as, say, we do.
John Boehner's statement.
John Boehner, even though obviously he's only been focusing on his social agenda in terms of legislation that he's trying to pass, still, when asked about what he wants to do for the past however many weeks, he's been talking about creating jobs.
Right. And apparently people are more driven, more influenced.
And hey, I guess whatever he says is the truth.
By talk rather than action. The statement, while Americans want, this is Boehner's statement, while Americans want Washington to focus on creating jobs and cutting spending, the president will have to explain why he thinks now is the appropriate time to stir up a controversial issue that sharply divides the nation. We can pick apart almost every phrase in that. Number one, the nation is that divided? No, Republicans and social conservatives want us to think that the nation is actually divided about gay marriage, when the reality is that if you ask people in a fair way whether gay and lesbian couples should have the same rights as heterosexual couples, this is not as split or as controversial as John Boehner would have us think. And number two, the president is the one who has to explain why this is the appropriate time. I think John Boehner needs to explain why an appropriate use of time is 10, 12, is it 14 or 16 at this point, bills to repeal parts or all of or funding for the Barack Obama health care bill? I thought you were pro-life, House Republicans. What's pro-life about restricting access to care? What's pro-life about restricting access to legal and safe abortions when a woman has been raped? The president is the one who has to explain his motivation for timing? I think it's completely disingenuous. I hope that people call John Boehner out on this. I hope it's not just us, Lewis, and a handful of other programs that are doing this.
We'll see. We'll see in his next wave of interviews.